start this off. This is Matt with Deep Woods Paranormal. We're back again with another podcast. Today we have a special guest on. This is Eric Ross of the Deep Woods Paranormal Team. What I really like about Eric is he comes from more of a scientific background. He has a lot of engineering skills and stuff like that, and he has some really cool theories that I've never heard before. So I asked him to come on, and I want him to kind of talk about some of the things that he believes and can help me with. I'm just chipper cowering. It's alright to fix that. I'm going to delete it all. That's the cool thing about pre-recording.
You're out.
Let me just go back to the front. I'll probably kill it from certain points. This is Matt with Deep Woods Paranormal. We're back again with another podcast. Today we have a special guest on. This is Eric Ross. That's where I'm going to kill it from. Chunk. This is Matt with Deep Woods Paranormal. We're back again with another podcast. Today we have Eric. Okay. It didn't delete. I thought it just stopped. This is Matt with Deep Woods Paranormal. We're back again today with Eric Ross. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of other side of the paranormal coin here. More of the scientific side. And I've got a very special guest, one of our team members. His name's Eric Ross. He's very scientific, which I really like, and he's got a lot of theories on what ghosts could be. So with that, we're going to bring on Eric Ross and have him kind of talk about some of his theories.
Sure. So a little background. Again, I'm not a full skeptic, but haven't really had that experience, that most people in paranormal have. Growing up, my mother would claim to see the lady in white, walking through the house, and she never was afraid of it, but nobody else ever saw it. And then when she passed, I had one strange little experience. It was if she had visited me and we had a conversation. I was asleep, so I could easily pass that off as, I was dreaming, or my mind was processing the grief where we had that conversation, but it was a conversation about questions or regrets that I had, and it was just this calm, I accept your apology or whatever it was. And I had experienced that one other time when a good dear friend had passed away. Same thing, in the middle of the night. Maybe I'm sleeping, maybe I'm not, I don't know. Could have been a dream, but visited again, just a brief little conversation. But I did see him without any injury and almost a perfect body, right? There was no hunched over walking, it was standing upright, in picture of health. And I met this man when he was 70. I'd never seen him when he was in his youth, and healthy. So it wasn't something my mind made up, or at least that's what I think. But yeah, no direct paranormal experience other than those two, and then my mother seeing things, and we didn't think she was crazy, but
right. Well,
she saw something.
Right. A lot of people, when they have a relative or family member or close friend die, they say that they have closure when they're asleep. They say that some people believe that ghosts will come to you when you're sleeping because they can communicate with you that way.
Sure.
You're the most calm, you're the most relaxed, and they're able to, kind of manipulate your brain to communicate with you. And again, all this is just theory. I mean, who knows for sure? I mean, there's no way to really prove that yet.
Yeah, I can't prove it yet, but it parlays into kind of one of my theories is the soul continues on. I do believe that, but I believe that outside of the body, our spirit can travel at the speed of thought, right? So no matter where you want to be, if you think you're there, boom, you're there, right? It's breaks the universal speed limit, right? It's faster than the speed of light. It's the speed of thought. That may explain why, there might be an apparition or a little flash to the corner and then it's gone. Somebody was just passing through maybe.
Right. And sometimes on audio clips, it's really interesting because I've had this happen to me several times. Right before you get an EVP, there's a pop. And that could be, Eric's theory could be correct. What if, because you're talking to that person, you're drawing them to you and they're coming to you and they're, boom, they're maybe speed of thought or whatever has a sound like the speed of sound does. Or, whatever.
Yeah.
And that creates that little pop in your audio recorder. And, we don't really hear with our own ears, but maybe that could be it.
Yeah, it could be. And, then that begs the question, well, how come they're not always visiting us? If they could be there whenever we want them to, why wouldn't they just pop in there, right? Time no longer is a parameter. They're not bound by time. They could go anywhere, forward, backward, present, doesn't matter. And all I have to go back on is, if there's an afterlife, I've got a lot of questions and a lot of things that I want to research, and I don't really have time to go back to where I was. I want to know everything else, right?
Right.
All the mysteries of the universe can now be revealed because I'm moving around at the speed of thought anywhere I want to be. I want to know who built the pyramids. Yep, there I go. Okay, now I see. That's 50,000 people building those things, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I just think the life after death is probably a lot more interesting than life on Earth. And why would you want to waste time there, right? So we're seeing these travelers, right? I believe that the apparitions, we're seeing people travel back to a certain time and place, or maybe they've been passed on for a long time and they've examined the mysteries of the world and now they just want to mess with people. Who knows, right? The stories we hear, ghost stories, some of them are comical, right? The ghosts are just messing with us. There's nothing malicious there. They're just having fun with the living, right? Some jokester, some prankster. And, maybe that's all it is. I don't know. We can't prove it yet, but maybe as time goes on, we can.
Yeah, that's totally be the prankster.
Yeah.
Dang it, Matt! I can already hear it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's interesting. That could also kind of maybe go with time travel too, because there's a lot of pictures that people. It looks like that person's walking down the side of the street with a cell phone, and these pictures, these old time pictures from the 40s and the 30s and stuff like that, and or they're wearing something that is from today, but yet it's the 1920s or 1900s.
Right, and it's with time travel. It doesn't even have to be a disembodied spirit. Someone living and present in the flesh. One immutable fact is if time travel is ever going to be possible, then it probably already is, right? Because if you can travel forward, backward in time, if it's going to be available 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, then it already exists, right? You just eliminated time from the formula completely.
Right.
So yeah, there's nothing in physics that prevents time travel.
Right.
So maybe it already exists. Maybe these photos we see are actual time travelers.
So it could be, and there's people that do what's called astral projecting, where they can actually see things. They can follow somebody. You can get on like a motorcycle, and you can grab them and drown wherever. They're not supposed to know where you are, but they can see you. They can kind of like see through your eyes. They can see what you're doing, and they can write it down. And then they come back and they say, okay, well, where did he go? Blah blah blah. What did you see? And they have it exactly perfect.
Yeah,
it's a little scary.
And astral projection is something I haven't delved in myself to try to attempt to do it. It's a little scary to me right now, but it certainly could explain some things, right? There's a lot of folks out there that seem to have advanced knowledge of things they shouldn't have it.
Right.
Clairvoyance may be as a result of astral projection, right?
Right, and remote viewing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the remote viewing, what the CIA did lots of experiments on that, right? With the remote viewing
I've actually met people that did that. I have a friend that does that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to talk to him about it. And it's like, okay, how do you do that? How do you use that for ghost hunting?
Right. and maybe you can, maybe you can't. If the spirit leaves the body during an astral projection, then now we're back to traveling at the speed of thought, right?
Right, exactly.
Maybe it's just a trained muscle we haven't learned how to control yet.
Well, they say we don't use the full brain, so who knows?
Yeah, well, we don't use it all at the same time, at least, right? We use the whole brain's functioning, but it's not all firing at once. So there's a lot of mysteries out there in the physical world that we still need to solve before we can even, think about the paranormal world, right?
Right.
But yeah, lots of stuff.
So, what other thoughts and theories do you have on?
One other thought, we see television shows or pictures, we've got these apparitions, right? And they're kind of wispy, sometimes a bluish tint. There's actually a natural phenomenon called a Cherenkov light. The Cherenkov light, usually you're going to see that nuclear reactors or where they're storing spent nuclear fuel in the cooling tanks. What's happening there is these fuel rods are still releasing particles, right? Subatomic particles. And these particles have broken the speed limit. They're traveling faster than light would travel in that medium. Right? So we know what the speed of light is in a vacuum. We know what the speed of light is through water. And if one of these high energy particles is traveling faster than light should travel in this water, we get that glow. You can look it up. There's pictures of it. It's a known thing. Cherenkov light, Cherenkov radiation. It's just this nice, soft white ultraviolet glow that comes off of these things. And another theory I have is perhaps that's where these apparitions are coming from. Perhaps the soul carries on as a small particle, say a neutrino, right? And by small, I mean if, let's say, a proton or a neutron of an atom were the size of a whale, the neutrino would be the size of an ant. It can literally pass through the empty space between other subatomic particles.
Wow.
It can travel through walls. In fact, just sitting here, you've probably had about 10 million neutrinos pass through your thumbnail.
Wow.
You didn't know because they're so small they did not react with any other matter.
Yeah.
No reaction whatsoever. Some of these can be high energy. But what if, this apparition is a collection of these high energy neutrinos and it's passing through air, right? Air is a liquid, right? Fluid dynamics. What if it's passing through there and it suddenly passes at a speed faster than light should be passing through it, and you're going to get that Cherenkov light off of it. And that could be what an apparition is. Neutrinos are very, very, very hard to observe. There are lots of neutrino observatories around the world. One of them down in Antarctica that's a kilometer cube below the ice shelf there. And they don't capture many. They do get some reactions once it finally interacts with some other particle. It has to collide with that particle for them to actually observe it. But again, they're so tiny they pass in between the empty space. At that quantum level, there's more empty space in matter than there is solid matter. So they're just passing on through. So we see ghosts. They might go through a door, go through a wall. Well, a neutrino could do that easily. In fact, it does it, billions and billions of times a day. It passes right on through the earth and doesn't even collide with anything.
Yeah.
So
I've always wondered how a spirit could go through a wall or go through a door or whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen in my time, I've seen like door handles turn and open, locked doors unlock and open. Mm-hmm. Used to happen to me all the time. Like,
sure. Yeah.
We had footsteps up and down our hallway at night. And, we recorded so much stuff in some of the homes we lived in. But they were kind of more guardians. But it's very interesting to hear that could possibly be a theory that maybe they're using that energy to maybe travel through doors instead of having to turn the handle and go in.
Sure.
They don't have, they're just energy.
Yeah, and we could set up an experiment with a vessel full of, say, mineral oil, right? It's a little bit thicker, light's going to travel a little bit slower through it. You can see that like in a fishbowl, right? You're going to get the light bends in it. That's the light slowing down. That's what causes that refraction. We could set up an experiment if we've got a place that's really active. You could set up some kind of vessel, like I said, with some mineral oil in it or something. Maybe you would get something to interact with it, right? If the theory is true that the spirit is made up of these high energy neutrinos, for instance, then perhaps you would get that interaction. Maybe you wouldn't, I don't know, but you might get that little flash of blue. It would be very faint unless it was concentrated with a lot of particles hitting it. But you might could capture that. It's something that you could set up and observe for sure.
I think we will be doing that sometime down the road in some investigation. Yeah. We do have a location coming up, but we're going to be there for multiple days. So I'm thinking if we can figure out how to set that up, what we should do it for that investigation, and then we can broadcast it here on YouTube, guys. If we are able to do that, we'll share that with you, and that'd be very interesting to see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Do you have what other theories are you?
I develop them all the time. Most of them are crackpot theories. I don't pretend to be a physicist. The stuff interests me, and I've got I'm really excited about quantum physics, and I have a really infantile understanding of it.
Yeah.
But it's an interest. It's a hobby, I guess. Just learn as much as I can about it. And if the spirit lives on, and it lives in the quantum world, there's a lot of the physical quantum world we don't understand. And so understanding the spirit in that quantum world, it's going to be difficult, but, somebody's got to discover it.
Yeah, and my theory is, I like the energy theory. I like that spirits, once we lose our shell, that we become basically some kind of energy, and we can still manifest in some way. By manifest, I mean move something, create a voice, maybe we manipulate a person's brainwaves to see us, or hear us, or we manipulate a camera to show ourselves, or we manipulate an audio recorder to create a voice. And we've already known the spirit box, like at the Woodbine Hotel, where it actually spit out, voices and names that we could actually understand. As much as I don't like the spirit box, excuse me, we actually could understand that. So what is manipulating those things? What is causing that to happen? And that's what I'm kind of looking to find out. What's
Well, sure, and what could be manipulating that is, again, at that quantum level, these particles are acting more like waves, right? And the radio frequencies are a wave, right? They have a frequency and amplitude, and these particles have the same thing. Well, if they happen to be an opposite, then it's just going to cancel it out. We won't hear anything. But if it's a complementary wave, you might get some little boost of something from that particle, or person, or spirit, or whatever the case may be. It kind of all ties together, but then it doesn't, right? We can't directly observe it, right? We've got anecdotal evidence of spirits and ghosts and apparitions and things like that, but we don't have hard evidence because at the quantum level things are so difficult to actually observe.
Right.
Again, we can come up with experiments, and if you've got a hotbed of energy, try to do something to prove your theory. But again, you got to realize going into it, the likelihood of catching it is going to be very slim.
Right.
But the reward, if you do,
awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to be conducting other experiments that pretty much nobody else has as well. With audio recordings, we're going to be doing some different types of audio recordings. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spill the secret, but we're definitely going to be testing audio on different levels, and we're going to try a bunch of things that Eric wants to come up with. He's got a brilliant mind, and he's got a lot of different theories that I really want to check out. I'm really excited about Eric being on the team because he thinks differently than everybody else does, and he has different theories that nobody else has. And that's awesome because we could come up with some kind of crazy thing that happens that nobody else has experienced. You know what I mean? So, all right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm sure we'll think up some more.
Yeah.
My mind never stops when I'm thinking about this physics stuff. Again, I don't pretend to know anything about it.
Right.
It's just a hobby, but welcome any kind of challenge to it, and let's come to a consensus and use that.
Right. And so our team always debunks everything first, but trying to prove something scientifically is extremely, extremely hard. So that's what we like to do. We like to try and find a scientific reason for something, and if we can prove that ghosts are this or ghosts are that, I mean, it would just be a huge breakthrough in our field.
Sure.
So again, that's something I'm really excited to work with Eric on, and we'll be trying a lot of experiments, and we'll have a lot of new YouTube videos coming out with these experiments, showing these experiments and how we're doing them and stuff like that. So you guys will definitely see Eric on video here probably in the next couple months, setting up these experiments, talking about how he's going to do them, and what we're looking for things to happen with them, and if we're successful, this is how it's going to look, and we'll see what we can do with it. So again, Eric, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll talk to you here next time.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys. We appreciate your time.